Hey guys, this is Mitchell from GameFront, and I am joined along with Phil Hornshaw. I'm blanking on your title. Phil, help me out.
Senior editor.
Senior editor. It's because you used to be deputy editor, and that's what you are. You're always introduced at. So
I don't know that those two things are different.
Whatever. Deputy editor, senior editor, same thing.
I have a little plaque on my desk, clearly.
It's not important. What is important is that, Phil, you recently had a chance to visit Turtle Rock Studios to see a whole bunch of Evolve.
Yes.
So yeah, we wanted to do a little video talking about all the stuff that you found out. You pretty much played through everything that the general public currently knows about, except for the final monster.
Yeah, we've seen everything Evolve has to offer up to this point, except, like you said, there's one third monster that's still to be revealed, I think, later this month. And then there's actually one map related to that monster, which I have seen, but which I can't talk about. So.
Right. So the footage that you're seeing right now, this is all Phil playing from his trip at Turtle Rock, and one of the big things that they announced was was it called Evacuation mode?
Yeah, it's called Evacuation mode. They actually told us about all the game modes that we'll see in the game altogether. Like, up until now, the only thing anybody's seen at cons or in other footage or in the big alpha has been the hunt mode, where, a monster is running away from hunters while also trying to evolve. Those hunters are trying to trap it and kill it before it gets too strong, and it's basically it. It's just you running around trying to kill this boss, more or less. And there are actually, I guess, 3 other game modes. In addition to that, there's Nest, in which there are 6 monster eggs scattered around the map. The hunters have to find and destroy all the eggs. The monster has to protect them for a certain amount of time. Then there's Rescue, it's called, which is kind of the same thing except flipped. There are a series of humans who are like down in a downed state out in the map, like you have to go revive them like other teammates. And then you have to, as hunters, you have to lead them to an extraction point, and the monster has to kill them. And in that one, so in that match, you have to either save or kill 5 of, I think, total 9 survivors, and they come in waves. So the first wave is 2 survivors, the second wave is 2 survivors, and the third wave is 5, I think, is how it shakes out. So the monster has to kill 5 total, or the hunters have to rescue 5 total. So there's a little, wiggle room for a few of them to die there. And then the last mode is called Defend, which is sort of a last stand for the hunters. The monster has to destroy a generator that will win the map, and the hunters have to defend it for a set amount of time. To get to that generator, the monster actually has to fight through 2 walls that are between it and there. And those walls have gates that are also powered by generators, so it's destroy 3 generators to win the map. And in that one, the monster has waves of little minion monsters that come help, like 2 every, I think, 2 or 3 minutes. Little Goliaths that the hunters also have to kill. So those 4 are the game modes, and then Evacuation is sort of a campaign that's made up of those 4, right? So you start with a hunt map, and then you'll go into 3 different, maps in the middle. It'll be some combination of hunt, nest, and rescue. And then the last one will be a defend, and that's sort of the finale of the whole thing.
Right, and you said that the big thing about Evacuation is that it matters who wins each round. So if the hunters win a round, then they get some sort of advantage going into the next round, and conversely, if the monster wins, then the monster gets some sort of advantage going into the next round. Yeah,
this is sort of what makes it a cool, like, Left 4 Dead style campaign, is that each of the maps has a persistency that echoes into the next round, right? So I can't remember too many of them. I mean, we only saw a few. Turtle Rock says there are a ton, and if you take all the combinations and do all the permutations out for every campaign, they say there's something like 800,000 possible combinations for campaigns, which is crazy. And that doesn't count, the variation of which monsters are picked and which hunters are picked.
Right.
So there's a whole lot of things going on, but one of the best examples I saw was there's a level called the Dam, And if the monster, I can't remember what happens when the hunters win, but if the monster wins on the dam, it causes the next map, because they're all like adjacent to each other on the it shows you like a map of the planet. The next territory where you fight in on the corresponding map is flooded somewhat. Like there are patches of ground that are underwater, and in those puddles of water are man-eating eels. So that's like a big disadvantage for the hunters. They have to be careful where they walk. But in order to keep things balanced, so that you're not always, losing and losing and losing, if you're happen to be on a team that's not doing so well, the game compensates by giving the losing team a little stat boost every round, right? So if you lose the first round, you'll get a stat boost. If you lose the second round, you get another stat boost, and they stack. If you lose the third one, you get a third stat boost. But if you win in the meantime, then it dials back in the other direction, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a tug of war of stat boosts. Basically, to keep the whole thing competitive.
That's interesting, because when you first described that, that was like my concern. I was like, well, if you lose the first match, and you get a disadvantage, it kind of seems like there's going to be a downward slope effect where you're just going to keep on losing because you have to deal with another, disadvantage. But if they mess with the stats, then that's an interesting trade-off, I think.
Yeah, the whole thing is a really interesting kind of design for multiplayer, because it's a 5-match campaign, and Turtle Rock is really conscious of the fact that, if you are getting your ass kicked the entire time, people have a tendency to rage quit. Why would you stick around? So they've done a lot of things to kind of make sure that these stay competitive and that you're going to want to stick around through the whole thing, right? So there are 5 matches together, and the first 4 all matter, but it's the 5th one that really counts, right? It's like it's not quite a winner-take-all situation, but it's the winner of the match is the winner of the defend match at the end, and all the other maps in between are, can go one way or another, can set the stage for that last fight, but it's always going to come down to that last fight. And to keep people in it, you get you get experience rewards along the way, right? So the winner of the first match, for example, will get more XP than the loser, but the loser still gets something. And so it's all kind of designed to make you want to stick around, as even if you are losing, you're getting something out of it. You're going to want to see it through to the end, and the game is going to try to keep it even so that you're going to have fun the whole time. It's going to be, the whole idea of Evolve is sort of this big epic struggle of 4 people against 1 boss fight kind of thing, and so Evacuation is geared toward giving you that sort of experience and not necessarily being like it's not like a super competitive, rank Call of Duty kind of situation. It's more like get 4 friends together and play for an hour and have a really great time kind of thing.
What was your thought on the balance of the other modes? Because I know when the big alpha was done, Turtle Rock released an infographic showing the amount of the percentage basically of hunter wins versus monster wins, and it seemed. It was pretty close, but it seemed mostly skewed towards the hunters winning. Do you think that any of the new modes that were introduced are more advantageous to the monster?
I talked to creative director Phil Robb about this whole thing, actually, and he had some really interesting things to say. Like, I at first was like, how is anybody ever going to win at Nest if they're a monster, right? Like, Nest seems totally geared toward advantage having 4 people, right? If you were separating out, our strategy as hunters was immediately to send 2 people to each egg, kill them as fast as you can. If you get into trouble, just bail, go find another egg. But basically, it was hit and run attacks. And as a monster, it's actually really difficult to pin that down, or I would think. And that was proven false as soon as we played against a monster player who actually knew what the hell they were doing. Yes, exactly.
It's funny because when I was watching the footage, I was thinking to myself, this actually seems like a monster would do pretty well in this, because the best strategy is to split them up 2 and 2. And the thing is that at the beginning of the game, the hunters have the advantage. If the hunters can trap the monster and have all 4 of the hunters there, then they have the advantage. But if you separate it to 2 against 1 is a little more in favor of the monster. So I feel like all the monster has to do is head to one of the eggs and take out 2 of them. And I'm interested to play that mode because I think the balance of power shifts in that mode towards the monster side a little compared to hunt.
It's interesting that you say that because like I had that experience when I was playing on the hunter side. I was going, we're never gonna not win this. And then as soon as I started playing as the monster, I was like, I know how to beat these kids. So one of the cool things about Nest is, as the monster, you can prematurely hatch an egg, and out of it comes like a weaker version of the Goliath that you play as, and it basically jumps up and beelines right for the hunters, and great for distracting them and keeping them off balance. So one of the strategies I heard talked about from developers and community people and so on was that, first thing they'll do is hatch an egg and just let it go, tussle with hunters. And if it dies, that counts as an egg destroyed. So you have to, as the monster, you have to kind of like accept some losses here. But then meanwhile, you go evolve up to maybe stage 2, figure out which egg they're hitting next, because you get indicators. You can see all the eggs as the monster, but the hunters can't. They have to kind of like figure out where they are. As the monster, as soon as you get like an indication that an egg is being destroyed, first thing I did was like, all right, I'm just going to go murder people. And I ran straight over and just tried to take out whoever I could. And sure enough, they were separated. They were a little bit off balance. It's hard to escape the monster if the monster's like really coming after you, I've found.
Right.
So I was able to knock some people out. But then another strategy that they pulled on me that I had to adapt to was that if you play as Bucket, the support character who's a robot, he can lay down turrets, right? So their strategy was they actually separated into 3 groups, and turret guy would put turrets on an egg and then leave. And so I wound up, one of the eggs that I went, expecting to kill some hunters and like thin out their team, was actually surrounded by turrets, and I had to destroy all the turrets, and I was like, oh shit, I'm at the wrong place, basically. Yeah. So I had to bail, and then I had a match opposite of that as the hunters, where we lost everybody, and I just ran away. And I waited it out. I hid and I waited it out until everybody dropped from the dropship again, and we were able to like regroup and go after it again. So it definitely is. It's not quite as cut and dried as it at first seems. I discovered. I was actually the entire time I was playing Evolve, I was like, man, I don't know if these really are going to work, but it looks like Turtle Rock does a lot of playtesting. They do playtesting every day, and I think they do have a really good handle on making sure that these modes work pretty well. I think the only thing that they might have to change is that in Rescue, when you revive the humans and they have to run to the extraction point, first of all, the dropship isn't there right away. It takes time for it to fly over. And then it's basically just a beam, so if they run into the beam, they get zapped up to the ship. Freaking Andrea Renee from Game Trailers, who was also at the event, she was playing the monster, and she just camped on top of that beam. and she was just wailing people as they were coming by. So that was a problem. I'm hoping that they will maybe fix that, or maybe we should have just been better hunters. But all in all, it felt pretty balanced. When we had good people in, I mean, it takes some time to get used to the monster, and I think that's what Turtle Rock sees as being kind of the skew that you talked about between the hunter and the monster wins in their data from the big alpha. It takes some, adaptation, I think. But for the most part, it seems like they're pretty balanced. They've thought it out pretty well, I think.
Cool. So I would be remiss not to mention this, but you had a pretty amazing bit of footage in one of the Defender levels. So just walk us through what happened here.
Okay, this is my favorite. This might be my favorite gaming moment of the year. To be honest with you. It was so great. So this is the last match of the last campaign of the last day, right? I was there for 2 days. This is the very last thing I played. The last time I had hands on Evolve was this match. And it comes down to the wire. It's defend, so in defend you have your little minion guys, attacking generators and stuff. And the cool thing about defend as the monster is you start at level 3, right? You don't have to evolve up to full strength. You start at full strength. The trade-off is the hunters respawn much faster because they're basically fighting for their lives. So it's expected that they'll die in that defense quite a bit. They respawn every 30 seconds. So you can go after the hunter team and try to knock them all out, but they're going to come back. You have to kind of... It's more about keeping them off balance than it is just knocking them out. And if you lose as the monster, if you're killed as the big monster, you lose the match. So, that's the stage. I was basically running harassment campaign against the hunters as much as I could, kind of trying to separate them out, kill them, and then run away and let my little Goliath guys destroy the generators that they needed to take out. Came down to the wire, we're attacking the big generator, and I was hitting it some, and then eventually I was like, forget this, and I started just running around trying to take out hunters, and too late I realized that my health was way, way, way too low, so I made a run for it, but I had successfully distracted all the hunters enough that they were attacking me, and my little Goliath guys were just wailing on their generator. They killed me, and as I was like grabbing my chest and dying, the generator exploded and I won. So, it was literally like a split-second difference of victory and defeat, but it worked out. I felt like I ran a pretty good monster campaign up to then, and I was like, oh damn, I'm gonna lose it right now. But little guys came through. And,
did you give a little primal shout when? Yeah.
I did. I didn't rub it in anybody's face too much, but like I said, Andrea Renee was there, and she was against me, and I felt pretty good about having won.
It's payback for her camping. Yes. Camping as a monster.
Devastated us as the Kraken earlier that day. So yeah, I felt pretty good about it.
All right, guys. Well, that's evacuation mode in Evolve, and a rundown of all the different modes that you're going to be playing. We're going to have another video coming up talking about the new classes that were recently revealed, or the new characters in each class that were recently revealed. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment. And subscribe. Hey, don't step on my territory.
I was supposed to.
All right, see you guys later.
Later.